It's summertime. Still, technically. And you know what that means? The living's easy, Bradley's on the microphone with Ross MG, all the people in the dance will agree that we're well qualified to represent the LB. People come up to me and ask, Slippy, why do you play so many 2D platformers? And I'll say, what? Who are you? How'd you get my apartment? Anyway, this is Tethergeist, a precision platformer with movement centered around astral projection. Now, right off the bat, you might think this game is just reheating Celeste's nachos, but you'd be wrong. Because while Celeste is a game about a young redheaded girl going on a mountain climbing expedition that serves as an allegory for overcoming one's anxieties, Tethergeist is a game about a young redheaded girl going on a mountain climbing expedition that serves as an allegory for overcoming one's disabilities and chronic tummy aches. Insert fart reverb.wow. Jokes aside, Tethergeist more than makes up for its more derivative aspects due to its overall quality and near flawless execution of its gameplay. The core mechanic involves projecting your spirit to perform a short-range teleport to navigate past obstacles and clear large gaps. Projecting midair causes your character to float slowly downward, giving you time to line up exactly where you want to move to next, and is sometimes incorporated into the mechanics of certain levels. This creates a little break in between moves that allows for a much more methodical approach in many scenarios and makes for a unique game feel compared to your standard platformer. Further levels build off this core ability via new mechanics such as these catapult-like jellyfish, as well as new teleport abilities like one that allows you to break through walls or one that travels indefinitely, bouncing off of any walls in its path. All of these mechanics seamlessly intermingle with one another as you progress thanks to some exceptional level designs that feel like a cool-ass 2D skate park where you'll definitely eat shit again and again and again, but eventually you get to a point where everything just clicks and you pull off a long platformer section perfectly, and it's just like, it feels so good, man! And this is further reinforced by all the hidden collectibles that frankly make up half the game's content and provide an excellent challenge for those who want it. Collecting enough of them also gets you the true ending, which I would gladly go for in my spare time. If I had any! Now, of course, the movement is smooth, the visuals are gorgeous, and the soundtrack is great, but what's peculiar is that none of those things are what made this game feel good to me. Instead, it was this. These sounds are so delightful, it's like my brain is being nuzzled by kittens. These distinctive pops and lingering chimes put weight and impact behind every teleport action. It's a small thing, but touches like that can make a big difference in how a game feels to play, whether it be freeze frames on landing hits in fighting games, hit markers and kill sounds in shooters, or in this case, the sounds your character makes when teleporting. Call me crazy for putting a lot of weight into these simple sound effects, but it's a big reason why Tethergeist feels so good to play, and I find it fascinating how the most seemingly innocuous details in a game can have an effect like that. Or maybe I just like audio stimulation. Oh, I got an achievement for that, nice. Anyway, Tethergeist is an excellent game that's a must-play for anyone who's a fan of precision platformers. It doesn't reinvent the wheel in its format, but its gameplay is unique enough to distinguish itself from its contemporaries. Most importantly, it contains one of the cutest creatures I've ever seen in the form of an elephant-snail hybrid called Snoots, to which I bestow the first Little Guy Award of 2026. Congratulations, Snoots. I love you.
This could either be incredible or the worst piece of shit I've ever played in my life.
Good God, where do I even start with this one? So this is Bad Bitch Blasters, a turn-based RPG where you play as Jennifer and friends trying to summon the Devourer of the Dead to destroy the planet. It is, without a doubt, the stupidest game I have ever played, and that's precisely why I love it so much. Gameplay-wise, it's a very streamlined affair as far as RPGs go. You'll run through some linear areas with several combat encounters with simple but effective mechanics. Performing a standard attack or using an item generates a fire resource, which is used to unleash your more powerful moves. Damage types are split between yellow and blue, which are stand-ins for your typical physical and magical damage types. And naturally, there are several buffs, debuffs, dots, and other status effects to strategize around. There's no XP or leveling to worry about, just equipment, so you're free to experiment with the game's over 30 different playable party members to your heart's content without having to dwell on stat allocations or min-maxing. and given you'll only encounter most of these party members on subsequent playthroughs, there's enough replayability here to incentivize you to experience each of the game's 8 different endings. And despite not being the most sophisticated RPG, it can put up a decent challenge on some of the boss fights even on the normal difficulty setting. But I'm gonna guess, for those that are still with me, that the gameplay is the least of your curiosities right now. In a world inundated with slop, this is without a doubt the MMO raid boss of brain rot. The MS Paint artwork and animations are crude, to put it mildly, its sense of humor can be summed up by the inclusion of a track titled Pee Pee Poo Poo Party, and the dialogue has enough misspellings and poor grammar to put it on par with your average Gen Z high school student writing an essay without ChatGPT. However, this front-loaded assault on the senses and your brain cells is nothing more than a trap. This mask of absurdity eventually drops to reveal a story and world that has way more care and consideration behind it than I could have ever expected. Despite drowning in a sea of dick jokes, I was so compelled by this game's narrative that I couldn't help but find all of the game's endings in order to extract as much plot out of this metaphorical sludge of a video game. And that compulsion is why I find Bad Bitch Blasters so fascinating. In our modern media environment, it feels like everyone is competing to be as sensationalist as possible as a desperate plea for attention. So much so that artists in general may feel the need to compromise their vision and incorporate aspects into the work that are meant to catch your eyes by any means necessary. To quote the great philosopher Dochi, wrist watch, drip drop. Label wants the TikToks, now I'm making TikTok music, what the fuck? The irony here is that the audacity of Bad Bitch Blaster's title alone is precisely why I imagine some others even tried it in the first place, given more people have played this than the developer's previous game, which is free. But despite me falling for its audacious allure, after playing it, I can say without a doubt that this game is much more thoughtful than it lets on. And if I'm being honest, I still thoroughly enjoyed many of its incredibly stupid antics regardless. Roll Tide. I heavily debated including this game for this video at first because despite how much I adored it, I still recognize that it is very niche, but it's also only $3, so it's not exactly a massive monetary commitment. Hell, you can't even get a McChicken for $3 anymore in some places. What the fuck is up with that? Someone in the Steam reviews tried to sum it up by calling it Undertale for mentally ill people, but frankly, that's just Undertale, so not sure if that actually says much, but if that sounds appealing to you, then feel free to give Bad Bitch Blasters a go. Freefall 95 is one of those games that as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to play it. It's an arcade score attack game where you're stuck in a time loop of your plane exploding and you falling with style over and over like some twisted hybrid of Groundhog Day and Snakes on a Plane. After taking a metamorphosis shit to customize your look, the game takes you through 5 stages where you're given several different objectives to complete before you hit the ground a la Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. The primary of which is to get as many points as possible by doing tricks, parkouring off obstacles, and picking up items to increase your base points and multiplier without running into anything to break your combo. Each of the 5 levels presents new obstacles and gimmicks to tackle and cap off with a boss fight at level 5. After clearing all stages, you're thrown back into the first level on the next of 3 difficulties. The third of which being Purest Hell, which undoubtedly lives up to its name. Like, look at this shit. Calling this masochistic almost feels disingenuous, as the pain I went through to beat this mode was worse than CBT Sundays at the frat. Thankfully, you're able to purchase numerous upgrades and gadgets to give you a leg up that persists through each difficulty, with my personal favorite being the Turbo Glove to dash through and destroy objects. The main game is complemented by some solid optional modes, including challenge levels that I spent way too long getting the top spot of the leaderboard on, only to get overtaken mere hours later. And there's also a roguelike mode that turned out to be way more addictive than I thought it'd be. Addictive is the key word here, because the first time I booted this game up, I played it for 7 hours straight and I was so exhausted the next day at work that I felt like I was 2 weeks into a mono infection after kissing too many boys. The secret to a good arcade game is finding the perfect balance between skill and luck, one where you feel like you have total agency over your performance, but also just enough random bullshit to keep a major X factor in play. And Freefall 95 does an excellent job at walking this precocious tightrope that gives it that one more try feeling. For example, one way to build your combo meter and points is to perform simple tricks in the air. However, doing the same trick during a combo doesn't award points, multiplier, or extend your combo timer. Given there's only a limited number of them, tricks then become a sort of ammo or resource you only expend when you're out of range of any items or debris to score off of, as well as having to keep in mind what tricks you've already performed during an extended combo lest thou be constrained to ye old animation lock. Verily. Additionally, while you might think the obstacles are randomly generated, they're actually completely predetermined. Someone actually went through and hand-placed every single item and obstacle on every stage, and familiarizing yourself with the general layout of each level can give you a massive leg up in identifying certain scoring hotspots to juice up your combos. In contrast though, there's so much random shit flying all over the place that quick reactions, improvisation, and luck are still the primary focus of the gameplay. No matter how good you are, there is eventually going to be something that flies from off screen and T-bones you like it was Bowie Knife 99. This makes for a near limitless ceiling of possibility for how high people can push these high scores, and partially is why I skirted real life responsibilities so I could claim the top spot on some of the leaderboards before some god gamer puts up numbers that need to be written in scientific notation. However, there is one kinda annoying sexually promiscuous bugbear that I can't ignore: the snakes and the champagne. Both of these are items that, once grabbed, grant points but obscure your screen, making them a risk-reward pickup for people who feel confident enough to wait out their effects without losing their combo. And while I'm not against this concept on paper, the effect they have on your vision, especially when you pick up several at once, can be a bit overkill. Like, look at this shit. And this is with the photosensitive mode turned on. And both of these items are so prevalent that you're pretty much guaranteed to be sent to the audio-visual inebriated snake pits of hell at one point or another. I love this game, but oh my god.
I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday video game.
Except me. I'm one of the good ones. Complaints aside, Freefall 95 is an incredibly fun high-score chasing game that was well worth burning my retinas over. So take the plunge, or some other witty closing sentence, I don't know, let's just keep things rolling. This puzzling assortment of colors that has just blown out your retinas is Swirl Watch, a stealth action spaceship game where you set fire to corporate property like it's a distribution center in Ontario, California. The game immediately gets into the action the first time you boot it up, throwing you into some brief tutorials before diving into the meat of its randomly generated missions. Successfully completing objectives, routing enemies, and doing so without triggering any alarms awards you with points to unlock a plethora of new weapons, gadgets, ship types, upgrades, downgrades, side grades, and any other grades you can think of. Clearing objectives also progressively unlocks harder and longer AO missions that require even more careful planning and execution to make it out alive. It's basically Metal Gear Solid 5 in space, minus the booby sniper who's only half naked because she breathes through her skin. Wow. Swirl Watch differentiates itself, however, through its radar-based stealth mechanics as a result of the game's setting, Cloud 2, aka Zack Fair. And much like Cloud's memory, a thick haze surrounds this hazardous gas giant, causing ships and small objects to only be visible via sonar or LiDAR, and once they exit radar range, they become invisible again. This makes things consistently tense as you slowly scout out the mission area, finding isolated targets to either silently disable their ships or interrogating them for information on your objective or the location of other guards. And while this limited visibility enables you to skulk around unseen, wandering around carelessly can make things go south very quickly, as the enemies you face here are more than capable of kicking you down and taking your lunch money. Going in guns blazing is pretty much a guaranteed trip back to the main menu, but the lethality of the enemies makes it all the more satisfying when you pull off a successful ambush of a dangerous target and casually meander away unscathed. And even when shit does hit the fan, the ensuing chaos makes for both tense escapes and gunfights alike as you frantically fight for your life. What's more is that the randomization makes for an incredibly replayable game where every mission feels unique with different enemy placements, objectives, and environmental hazards to take into consideration on every deployment. Not to mention, there's radworms! They're radworms! Swirl Watch has some weird wrinkles in it though. Most prominent is that a lot of the mechanics in the game can feel a bit esoteric. To its credit, the game is very committed to keeping the player immersed as much as possible when presenting information through its stylized menus. But this comes at a cost of not making it particularly intuitive to figure out how stuff works. How do I unequip weapons? How do I tag stuff for this objective? Why am I getting flashbanged IRL for getting spotted? Like, if you check the guides on Steam, you'll find only a single guide that was made solely as a reminder of how to call in a resupply drop during a mission because there isn't a readily accessible codex or info section in-game, or at least not one that I found. Additionally, some lines of dialogue have a distinct smell of burnt toast due to some grammar errors, but hey, maybe it's healthy for the brain to get an occasional neurological jump scare, you know? That said, Swirl Watch is still an excellent stealth action game that I feel I've barely scratched the surface of in my brief 7 hours with it. If sneaking around in space destroying corporate property and inconspicuously docking talking with strangers like it's the RNC sounds appealing to you, give this game a go. This right here is my happy place. Shantytown is a cozy diorama building game where you play as a lame-ass narc sent to survey some rumored unauthorized urban developments in a seemingly post-apocalyptic world where the population is relegated to living in closed-off silos and are cut off from exploring the outside world. You'll go from location to location, building different little villages, temples, and markets within the varying confined spaces of these settlements, which serves as a kind of interactive time-lapse of each area's development, as well as spiking the cortisol levels of structural engineers everywhere. The crux of the game involves placing down buildings such as houses and businesses, then strategically placing utility objects such as plants, light posts, power lines, and decorations within close proximity to then upgrade said buildings from bland-looking cardboard boxes into an aesthetically pleasing mishmash of HOA violations.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
The light challenge the game presents comes from the combination of the limited space each location provides, as well as the limited choice of objects you're given to place at any one time. The buildings and objects available to the player are given in a specific order, and the ones that are currently available in your hotbar have to be placed before other objects further in the queue are given to you. Furthermore, you can only undo the very last object placement at any given time, and while you can edit the positioning of many objects after the fact, many larger objects such as buildings cannot be moved after this window. While this may sound creatively restrictive, I find it to be an incredibly brilliant mechanic that actually expedites and enhances the player's creativity. The limited selection of objects at any one time forces you to improvise and just go with the flow of whatever the game hands you at any one moment, creating a mesmerizing, steady pace of progress. And by the end, I had a build that I was incredibly satisfied with and probably would not have come up with on my own had I the freedom to pick whatever objects I wanted at any time. It's an interesting example of how less freedom can actually inspire creativity rather than hamper it. It's kind of like a freeform connect the dots, where the order you connect them is up to you. You can either go here, go there, season 5 of The Bear. I'm a slam poet now. For those that do crave more freedom though, there is a creative mode that unlocks after finishing the main game that I cannot be trusted with at the risk of being unforgivably cringe. Some things that bug me though are that while I did appreciate the aspect of having to commit to your placement choices for buildings, I do kind of wish the game allowed you to move windows and doors. There were several times where I'd run out of wall space due to certain objects not being able to be placed over walls occupied by a window. I know the point of the game is to embrace organized chaos, but I feel like having a little more control over these details would be nice to have without ruining the game's flow. Object placement can also be a bit finicky at times. Placing things on radio towers in particular felt like trying to separate two 1x1 Lego tiles with short fingernails, aka actual hell. But my biggest gripe was the fact that the fucking settings didn't work. I play on an ultra-wide monitor, but when recording games, I typically try to play in a 16:9 resolution to make editing easier. But for some reason, I couldn't get any resolution changes to apply. It's just like, why the hell won't you work? But despite the dev deciding to inconvenience me and me specifically, I still had a lot of fun with Shantytown. It's a cozy, relaxing time that was a nice change of pace from the games I typically play, and gave me a nice understanding as to why my wife has over 100 hours played in games like Unpacking. If kicking back to some lo-fi tunes, making buildings with the structural integrity of those found in the wet dreams of the big bad wolf sounds fun to you, then this is probably as good as it gets. Anyway, sorry for the long wait on this one. Meant to work on this one faster, but as per usual, I am going to start a weekly stream on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, both on Twitch and YouTube, so if you're interested in that, feel free to stop by, or if you're like me, use the VODs as a sleep aid. And with that, have a sexy, slippy summer, and I'll see you in the next one.